If it's Monday night, it only means one thing. It's time for an all-new The RCWR Show live coming at you on August 4th, 2014. Your buddy right here, Lee Sanders, joined by...
the evil genius of professional wrestling, Titus Machiavelli.
Titus, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, God, I've been fighting sleep for the past 3 hours.
I tell you what, if I had an insomnia issue, tonight would have been a great cure.
Yes, my God. Those of you that's been watching this for a long time, we're actually going to do something very unique on this episode. We're only going to do it hopefully, just this one time out of the year. We're only going to talk about key things that we thought was very interesting. And if you're actually...
Right, that's the show then, I guess.
Yeah, well, on that note, good night, folks.
Good night.
No, we're only going to talk about just a couple of things that we thought was interesting. Titus, before I even get into it, man, folks, you know what to do. Post those comments down below. Give us the likes. Share it. Google Plus it. Facebook it. Retweet it. All that good stuff, all right? We'll definitely get to you guys' comments, see what you all have to say. All right, you can follow Titus on Twitter at Evil Genius Titus. Check out his website at titusmachiavelli.com. I'll try to actually put the link down there in case you guys are having a little bit of a hard time spelling the last name. But it's fairly easy if you do a Google or Bing search. I'm sure you guys can come across it. It's very easy to, all right? And you can follow us on Twitter at the RCWR Show or Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Infinity with an E. Throw the actual number 1 in there, all right? Titus, decent wrestling overshadowed by cheap plugs. I think that fits this episode description perfectly because I counted 35 times, but you're saying a friend of yours who was also counting had counted 46, so somewhere between 35 to 46, definitely under 50. I think it's safe to say it was under 50. 42 had been at 50 is amazing for me personally, but at least almost up to 46 times we kept hearing the cheap plugs for the WWE Network. Now, you know, in order to really dive into this discussion, Titus, about the WWE Network, we also have to address what's also part of this episode description, which is keynotes from the WWE conference call that came about last week. It was said that WWE was projecting, hopefully, they wanted 1 million by now, or maybe at least 900,000. They didn't get that, as the average number, I believe it was like 692,000, but WWE just went on ahead and said, let's just round that off to 700,000, make us look even good, you know, we're close to getting our goal, yeah, okay, but it's actually like 692,000 subscribers that they have. Now, the numbers stopped being counted between January, February, March, between April to June. So there's no telling where it is right now, but that's the number that they're giving. Now, we can confirm from what was released of the conference calls that at one point, Titus, back me up on this, they had like over 165,000 new subscribers, but then they saw a turnaround in 130,000 people that unsubscribed.
Right.
Okay.
Something in that area, yeah.
Yes, somewhere in that area, all right? So they still don't have their 1 million subscribers, and at this point, WWE is in a position where they're going, okay, you know what? We can get our 1 million. We just need to branch out to other countries, and beginning August 12th, the WWE Network will be rolling. I know we have some fans, Titus, in the UK area. Shout out to you guys. UK, you guys won't be getting it until, I believe, the second week of October you'll be getting it. So not that much longer to go. So you can kind of understand why WWE is saying to themselves, okay, well, we really didn't have that much of a great turnout with the WWE Network as far as subscribers go this quarter. That would explain all the cheap plug-in that you're seeing of the network. Not to mention, WWE is also looking into ways of those of you that just want to get it for 1 month or on a month-to-month basis, they are looking to offer that, but they're going to try to pitch to you to get it for 6 months or more because you're going to be saving, and it's going to be nice to see, Titus, how they do it, because good analogy is, hey, you can buy a can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup for 99 cents, or you can get two for uh, $1, and it's kind of like you're going, ooh, $1 for two cans, but then you kind of think about it, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not really, am I? You got to think about it basically, all right? So Titus, cheap plugging for the WWE Network tonight. There's only been maybe 3 times, my friend, that I have, what's the right word I'm looking for? Been irritated, been a little bit upset with the WWE product. One instance that comes into mind is the infamous segment between Triple H, Booker T, leading up to their WrestleMania match for the World Heavyweight Championship, as they just really dug down deep and basically pulled that Vader, Booker T card from WCW, or actually, no, correction, Ron Simmons and Vader from WCW. The second time was after finding out that Chris Benoit had killed his family, as it was really tough for me to watch the next episode after the week prior was dedicated to just 2 hours of Benoit. This would have to rank number 3 because every single freaking segment, beginning with Triple H, and to go back to Triple H, Titus, Triple H, we all know he doesn't really respect the internet fan base, the guys that feel as though they know a lot about the wrestling business, even though they've probably never stepped foot in a ring and they're just reading stuff online. He doesn't really have a particular fondness for them, or even people that try to educate themselves about the business. So he's always taking little jabs at them. No doubt, based off what we heard tonight, Titus, they heard over the past several weeks how some fans feel that WWE goes overkill with the shameless plugging of the WWE Network, especially saying it's like Netflix, even better. Boy, I tell you what, pales in comparison to the cheap plugging we had tonight, my friend.
Yeah, I personally I enjoyed the opening segment. I thought that was done in a way that you've seen Triple H over the last couple of weeks. Little digs, little slights, some insider information. I've liked what he's done. If it was just that segment, I would have been completely fine. I'd have moved on and been over it. It goes now to Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler and even JBL just piling on nonstop for the next 2.5 hours that followed. That became just a little bit, it became a joke. And
Right.
instead of being a serious, look, let's be real. They have a business plan. And if you're in business and you're trying to create something, you know what you need to make it work. They need $1 million. They don't have it. They need more than $1 million with a global expansion. Now you're talking the whole world. You're talking about a big market in the UK, a big market in Japan, a big market in the UK. They need millions.
Right.
And if you're sitting at 700,000 or just south of that, and you need 300,000 more people, you should be pimping your product. You should be finding new ways to expand them to want to do it. Now I've been like you. I've been a subscriber since day one. I think the $10 a month just for the pay-per-view by itself is worth it. It saves me $40-50 a month by not buying the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I can do all the other things. So you should be, out there and pimping your product to try to get people to see, hey, it's worth the $10. However, it backfired tonight. Instead of being, I was thinking at one point you had, Triple H and Shawn Michaels were always so good about pimping their merch in their little segments they would do with DX. They were funny, they were clever, they made you chuckle, and then you moved on and you bought merchandise. Tonight was a failure. Tonight was a failure in a major sense because you had people just annoyed with it as opposed to being, okay, I'll give it a shot. It backfired.
Big time, big time. You know, I would have preferred it if they would have done something really fun, do a unique type of fun activity with it. And like for me personally, and I would have been fine with this if WWE would have like done sporadic Easter eggs of the WWE network for $9.99. Just have there be like a sign or something like that, and you can just like plan it, you know, throughout the entire show. Maybe a fan could hold it in the crowd at one point. Maybe somebody could have had a Sharpie on their wristband, plug in there. You go to the backstage segments. If they could have did some really cool stuff like that, right? And then maybe in the very last segment, maybe you could have seen, I don't know, maybe Jerry Lawler or Michael Cole. They could have said something along the lines of, hey, hope you've been enjoying the show so far. You know, we're about to end tonight, but we want to let you guys know we got a really cool special prize giveaway that we're doing. And here's how you can enter for a chance to win. You know, go to WWE.com, and in case you haven't noticed it, throughout the entire night, we've been posting Easter eggs of the WWE Network for $9.99. If you can tell us accurately how many Easter eggs we show throughout the 3-hour event, you'll automatically become eligible for a prize package. And maybe they could have been like, one of the grand prizes is the new WWE 2K15 for your respected platform, Xbox One or PlayStation 4. Second prize, you get yourself a $100 gift certificate for WWE Shop. You know, they could have just done it like that. Basically, 5 people could have had an opportunity, you know, to win. Then they would have forced people to try to go back on their DVRs or try to see if they can catch it online. You know, and then also they could have extended it. They could have said, hey, you know, don't worry, we're probably going to be doing more Easter eggs next week, so you really need to be paying attention to us because we're always going to be giving away some really cool stuff. I would have settled for something like that, Titus, but what they did tonight was just, there's that video game, Killer Instinct, and they go, Ultra Combo! I mean, they literally went all out there tonight. I was so tempted to change the channel. I was saying to myself, my God, is there a football game on? I don't even care if it's preseason right now. You know, I would rather put up with a boring preseason game than the torture that I had to go through throughout the entire 3 hours, because if it wasn't for my notes on what all had came about from this episode, I wouldn't remember, because all I remembered was $9.99 times 46.
Yeah, you know, even I mean, you've got like a guy like Mick Foley on Twitter going, I guess I forgot how much did the network cost. You know, now you know you've gone too far, and I'll take what you said as the next step. I was thinking this tonight. Remember back during the Attitude Era, they had those WWE Desire vignettes where they'd have like you know, a vignette. They had it on Matt Hardy, and had different little vignettes showing the desire of WWE superstars. They could take the plethora of moments from the WWE history and give you like a 2-minute reminder. Remember this. And you're sitting back going, holy crap, I cannot believe I forgot about that moment. I can watch moments like that. You need to play to me, and it's what the NFL does so well. The NFL knows their product, and they know their, you know, how to do things and market themselves, and they play upon your emotion. You know, when your football team wins the Super Bowl, what's the first commercial you see? Buy this merchandise, Super Bowl merchandise, Super Bowl champion. It's right there because you're in that moment. You're emotionally charged to buy that T-shirt, to buy that hat, to buy that collector's plate, whatever it is. So you put that emotional moment there and remind somebody of those moments that you just cherish. The Austin coming out with the beer truck and that whole segment there. That you're like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot about that. And then they kick up with the $9.99 Well, shit, man, it's only $10 a month. I get more moments like that. That is where you need to go. You know, I dig the beginning. It was kind of clever. It was kind of his shtick lately with Hunter. It's how he's been with the IWC for years. But it just kept going and going and going. And I was waiting for the Energizer Bunny to come flying through there, tapping that little drum. It was bad.
Yeah. And I can't stress this enough. I hope we don't experience anything like this next week, because the last thing I'm trying to do is hear. And Hulk Hogan, he's been making headlines off and on this weekend. Headlines in the wrong type of way next week. Celebration for the man. But you got Hulk Hogan. You know, oh, you Hulkamania. When me and Big Brother, Andre the Giant, and if you guys didn't see that match, you can actually check it out on the WWE Network. I'm like, no, Hulkster. No. If you're going to plug the network, man, just do it once, only once. Be one and done, you know. But Hulk Hogan, yeah, Titus, I got to pick your brain on this, man. And again, folks, those of you that's looking for us to talk about Raw, we're going to talk about it, but we're not going to look and cranny like we usually do, because there's only a couple of things that stood out to us. But Titus, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. It looks like we're hearing through the grapevine that saying it himself off and on since he's been back in the WWE, that he's willing and able. If WWE wants him to do one more match, he's been training. Now it's being said Hulk Hogan wants one more match, and he wants it against John Cena. I can only imagine biggest stage of them all, WrestleMania. It's so funny because I was actually talking to a coworker of mine earlier today, talking to him about Hulk Hogan, and he was like, what, isn't he like in his 70s now? I said, well, he's kind of getting there. He's in his mid-60s. And he was like, he's still a little too old, man. What about the back surgeries and the hip surgeries? And I said, yeah, exactly. And then we started reminiscing about how one of the last great matches he had, Titus, and I don't know if you saw it, was Bound for Glory. What was that, about 3 years ago? He took on Sting?
Yeah.
Street Fight or whatever. So my question to you, what do you think? Wrap your head around that. The idea of a Hulk Hogan coming out of retirement, one more match against John Cena, biggest stage of them all. He didn't really have a proper WWE send-off. I mean, the last time he was involved with the product in a physical capacity, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was against Muhammad Hassan and Daivari.
Well, he had a couple of moments. He had they were teasing the WrestleMania 3 reminisce with him and the Great Khali. But, that was the last thing I can recall when he did a save against, I think that was, I don't remember who it was against. What do I think about Hulk Hogan and John Cena? Without a doubt, it would be a dream match for me. Beyond belief, greatest thing in the world. However, I don't think at 61, which he will be next week, at 61, he is able to deliver a match good enough to make it work. For me, his swan song was 18 with The Rock. That was just
Oh, yeah.
That was just a great match. The emotion, he looked good in that match. He didn't look, tired. He didn't look old. He's 61 years old, and if he's able to reach down deep and he's able to pull out that match, hell yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it I'd pay $9.99 for that.
I'm sorry. How much?
$9.98. I want to save a penny on that. But it's got to be. The last thing you want to do is have, because that match would headline WrestleMania. There's no doubt that headlines WrestleMania, and the last thing you want is to have a disaster of a match at the main event of WrestleMania, and it's what it could possibly be. Sometimes dream matches are best kept just as that, a dream. You want to see Hulk Hogan and John Cena? WWE 2K14. You want to see Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold? WWE 2K14. It's better to be a dream match because dream matches don't need. I mean, a dream match, Tyson and Ali, it would probably not live up to the expectations of what it could be, and that's the problem you have, is that we as fans put things so high up that nothing can match what we've made it to be before it's even happened.
On paper, I like the idea. I mean, a lot of people are like, a couple of weeks ago, I remember they were like, "Oh, Sting and Cena." But for me, if I were to look at a dream match, that to me is the ultimate dream match, because I mean, you just match the two of them up, mirror images to a certain extent, but with the edge going more to Hogan. But some could make the argument that they're dead tie. I like that. That would be awesome. I think Hulk Hogan is just, honestly, and this is my genuine take on this, I could be wrong, I just feel Hulk Hogan is like 5 years too late. If it was 5 years ago, hey, I'm all for it. I would love to see it happen. But what the hell is he going to do for a finisher? I mean, those leg drops.
Not do the leg drop.
Right. What's he going to do? A bear hug? He's going to do a bear hug?
Yeah, it's not plausible. It's not feasible. I don't believe at 61 years old he can beat John Cena. The whole idea of professional wrestling is that you are to have a belief that this match can go either way. Let's look at SummerSlam. You've got John Cena and you've got Brock Lesnar. Now the infinite belief is Lesnar's going to win and take the title and go on. But it's also easily believable that, quote-unquote, Super Cena wins the day and, is the one behind the one, behind the one, behind the 1 and 21-1. If I get that right. It's plausible. We can sit back and honestly, we can look at it's possible either way. It could go either way. It's a believable ending. Both these men could win this match. You look at this, it's no way that a 60-year-old Hulk Hogan beats a late 30s John Cena, who's still in the prime of his career, and Hogan is at the end of his second career. I mean, he had three really good runs, if you want to count his return back to WWE after WCW closed. I just don't. I have mixed emotions. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Speaking of Hulk Hogan,
the 10-year-old Titus wants to see it. The 10-year-old Titus is dying to see it because he saw him in 1987 slam a 500-pound Andre the Giant and still believes in some ways that is what would come out, but that's not what would come out.
Yeah. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, we mentioned the WWE 2K15 earlier. There's a really cool limited edition box set. They revealed the pictures today, they being 2K Sports on their Twitter page. And if you guys haven't seen it, it looks really sweet, man. The thing is, it's only going to be available, as far as I know, for the next-gen consoles. If they are going to release it for the older consoles, maybe it might be a totally unique limited edition set in its own. But the way it's looking right now for the PS4 and the Xbox One, you get a little bobblehead of Hollywood Hulk Hogan. I think that's kind of interesting. I'd actually keep my eyes peeled on that one because they may give you the red and yellow Hogan for another platform or whatever. They may switch it up. You get a limited signed autograph little poster from Hulk Hogan, and these are posters that he actually signed. I believe he signed Titus like about 300 a week or something like that. So that makes that limited edition pretty cool. Also, they're including in each limited set a piece of the apron or a piece of a ring from when he had came back to WWE Raw a couple of months back for like the first time ever. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, you get all that. You get a DLC card, so you can download Red and Yellow Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. You get your DLC code, so you can download two versions of Sting, short yellow hair, and then the Crow Sting. You get all that for $100. I don't know, Titus. That I'm getting that itch, man. I remember I was telling my girlfriend about it. She was like, "Oh no, like now you're gonna get the next gen console, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." So my Christmas and my birthday, which is in the same month of December, I'm pretty much gonna be booked, getting something cool like that. So you guys check it out if you haven't pre-ordered yet. That's probably going to be pretty cool. And to the person that has their WWE 2K15 game coming, sorry, you're not getting the limited edition. Sorry, that's not happening. We love our fans, but not enough to pay over $100. No, you get the standard game. If you want the limited edition, you're going to have to do your own hunting on that one. Titus, something else that I thought was interesting as we work our way to just a couple of key points with Raw, and I definitely want to get your take on this. I'll set it up for you. The fact that as part of this WWE press conference, they named more budget cuts that's going to be happening. I mean, the most simplest things, folks. You all should really be concerned about this because, number one, we got guys from the production crew in WWE. And Titus, I don't know if you had read or heard about this, but the way that they would be getting around from city to city, they would have exclusive access to like a express tour bus, no personal express tour bus, and basically they could do what they need to do, break down the ring, get on that bus, drive to the next city, catch some Z's, build the set, grab some breakfast, lunch, or whatever, get some more sleep, and then come on back, do what they got to do as far as filming the action and all that, rinse, repeat. Now it looks like as part of the significant budget cuts that WWE is making, they're taking those buses away. So now the WWE production crew guys have to use their own personal vehicles and literally have to drive themselves to the next city. So we're doing a little bit of a throwback to before things started really getting all shrimp, caviar, and all that good stuff for the WWE. It's kind of going back to basics now, and no doubt I would imagine there's some people that are a little bit disgruntled by that. Maybe they're going to take their services elsewhere. Maybe TNA, depends on what exactly happens with that promotion, or Ring of Honor, or wherever, right? But it's also part of the budget cuts. It looks like something dear and near to my heart for a lot of years, Titus. I don't know about you. The WWE magazine, they are going to be shelving that in October. And Titus, I must admit, I was a little bit shocked when I had heard about this, because, I mean, this has been around for about a little bit over 30 years. And apparently the magazine sales has just been seeing a lot of red every single quarter, meaning they aren't making profit. I remember these magazines back when it was called WWF, and true story, I remember when I used to work security, I would always go to this cool little newsstand, and I would always chit-chat with the person that ran it. It was a husband-wife. They were so awesome at wrestling, because back then I used to get Pro Wrestling Illustrated. There was one other magazine, and there was an account for me set up, and basically I could just grab the magazines, and at the end of the month I would just pay one large bill for the magazines that I grabbed for them and everything, and they would actually do special orders for me. These guys were really cool, man. I can't try to remember the name of the place. I think it was called One Stop News, down Pennsylvania Avenue in Northwest DC, for those of you that might be around that area, around Pennsylvania Avenue. And I used to just love collecting the magazines, in particular the WWF magazine. I still remember that one infamous issue, Titus, of I think it was Raw, where Stone Cold had gave his first interview since he had took his ball and went home and everything. That was like a really hard sought out issue to find and all that. I'm a little bit sad hearing about that. I must admit I haven't gotten that magazine in X amount of years, but it was just always nice to know that it's there. but it's not what it used to be back in the 90s. What was your thoughts when you heard about that?
Well, you just put it right there. You haven't got it in a while. Well, how many of you are out there? Print media is on its last days. You see this all across the country when you're looking at newspapers and you look at sorry, I almost fell down here sitting in my chair. You look at newspapers and magazines, and this is a reoccurring theme throughout the United States. Print media is a dying art form. I can't tell you the last time I picked up a newspaper and read a newspaper. Lee, last time you looked at a newspaper, let's just be real about it. It's on your iPad. It's on your iPhone. It's on your computer. It's on, so it doesn't surprise me to see that go on. If your overhead is high on a product that is showing a decline in an industry that's in a decline, well, it's time to move on. That's right there. To address what you were saying about, the talent, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of businesses going through exactly the same thing. We are kidding ourselves that we are an improving economy when we're really not. And when you look at the landscape of what's going on in our economy, it's tough for a lot of businesses. It's tough for a lot of industries. And WWE is not exempt. Why aren't people spending $10 a month? Some of that goes to I ain't got $10 a month to spend on no damn wrestling show. So there's an issue there with economy. All right. Now, for guys to say they take their talent someplace else, really? Because they're not taking it anywhere else. They're just not. When you're at the WWE level, anything else is a step down. If you're going to you have to drive yourself around now in the WWE, you definitely are driving yourself around at TNA, and you're definitely doing it at Ring of Honor, and I guarantee your check is half, if not more than half, of what it is at WWE. It is a tough time, and sacrifices across the board. People lose their jobs, and if you look at the unemployment rate, you see it across every industry. You got people who've worked for WWE for 30 years. What does that tell you about Vince McMahon? Let's not mix up Vince McMahon and Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Mr. McMahon is not Vince McMahon. For somebody to take 30 years of their life and say, I'm going to stay here in Titan Towers and work for Mr. McMahon, that is a huge deal. How many jobs do you listeners out there, how many jobs have you had in the last 30 years?
Yeah.
To say I spent 30 years here, that says a lot about the business itself. It's still a mom and pop in many ways. So I know that I perceive that, I don't know, I perceive that these sort of cuts are hard on Vince. Not the talent. Talent comes and goes. Talent is the one that's in some cases, control their own destiny. The production guy, he isn't. So it's a tough thing. It's hard, and hopefully the global sales for the network are good. I hope that people start seeing a value in the network. I'm a believer in the network, and I don't watch it every single day. I watch it once, maybe twice a week. I mean, that's what I do. But again, it goes back to that pay-per-view, man. It's so worth it. So once people start picking up on it, and the network starts working like Netflix, because it doesn't, it starts working like Netflix, we're going to get some improvements there. I mean, hopefully the business will bounce back, but this has nothing to do with this is the end days of WWE. No, we'll be sitting here, you and me, Lee, doing the show in 2020, talking about the WWE. It's not going away. All right, guys. So you can sit there saying, "Oh, this is the last days. Something new is going to come." Not happening. It's not going to happen. Ted Turner tried to kill WWF. Didn't happen. This isn't going to either.
Yeah. What did you think about Randy Orton making the headlines again, man? You talk about the whole WWE Don't Be a Bully, Be a Star campaign. I don't know, but it looks like Randy Orton, once again, he's demonstrating to me, Titus, why WWE doesn't really fully embrace him to the point that they want to try to make him be the man, because it seems like in the past, every time they try to go to this man, something weird just comes about. They just leave him be, and they let him float on the roster for a little bit, mid-card status. But I think when it comes to little antics like this makes Randy Orton look bad. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but it looks like over the weekend, Randy Orton had put some really disgusting tweets out about some fan, apparently who was like very obsessed with him or whatever. I'm just basically the fan had said some derogatory things about Randy Orton's wife, and bear in mind, Randy Orton's wife, she very rare that she talks about Randy and and some other stuff. She usually just talks about other things, but she's getting bombarded by people that are just jealous at the fact that she's got Randy Orton. And one fan in particular, I guess it really hit home for Randy Orton, Titus, because he actually had posted a picture of himself with her, and he referred to this female fan as Miss Piggy. Now, when you see the actual picture of him with this fan, she looks somewhat attractive. She's a little chunky. I will admit that. It's not in a sloppy type of way whatsoever. If honestly, I don't think she needs to lose any weight, but if you were to like really, really force the issue, Titus, maybe she could stand to lose maybe 10 pounds, maybe 15 max.
We're not talking about somebody large and in charge here.
We're not exactly. No, nobody large and in charge. Called her Miss Piggy. Called another fan a douchebag. After that fan had accused Orton of having a dishonorable discharge from the Marines. This is nothing new. He talked about this on his DVD, fan, so tell Randy something new he doesn't know. However, the way Randy Orton had responded, well, he deleted his tweets. And I'm not really a big fan of deleting tweets. I feel that if you're going to put something out there for the entire social media to see and your account is public, own it. Own the mother lover.
And let's be real, deleting it doesn't get rid of it. It's not gone.
Exactly. Screen capture.
Screen capture, Wayback Machine, whatever it is. I think Randy's issue is this. Randy doesn't have a brain. Okay? Randy has a machine that runs, and every once in a while it needs to rewind and reboot, and he forgets how to do things. In some ways, you sit back and you think, well, he's trying to be a heel. He's gone back to the Bill Watts era. A heel is a heel. A face is a face. A face kisses babies. A heel better not lose a fight in a bar or he's fired. But you don't call a fan Miss Piggy. All right? You could almost accept the D-bag. Almost.
Yeah.
Especially the dude who was saying it. The dude deserved to be called a D-bag, all right? Because the dude's a douche. End of story. The Miss Piggy line, obsessed fan, you gotta keep things on a professional level, all right? I get tweets that make me want to pull my hair out from time to time, and who am I, right? I got 300 followers. He's got hundreds of thousands. The fact is, you have to treat people in a professional manner. Now, to make it worse, we are an anti-bullying company because we get so much crap about being a bully, and you start calling people names, and you start insulting women, and oops, he had to reboot his brain, and for the time it rebooted, he forgot his role. So you're right. It's hard to push a guy who just... say what you will about John Cena. You can't wrestle, but he doesn't embarrass the company. He doesn't embarrass the company. Oh, I know. He embarrasses the company every time he gets into a ring. I get it, but it's a difference there. He doesn't embarrass the company. A lot of guys don't embarrass the company, and Randy tends to do that from time to time. And you're not going to get yourself on the cover of the Fruity Pebbles box doing that kind of stuff.
And I'll tell you guys this much: as far as John Cena, that's the real deal. What you see is what you get. I've been to enough WWE live events when the cameras aren't rolling. This guy is autographing baby's little John Cena wristbands. He's signing championship belts. He's high-fiving people. He's saying hello. What you see is what you get. Randy Orton, woo, man, you know, if you're gonna talk trash about people, you might want to consider making your Twitter or whatever you're using on social media, make it private, or you can do something even better. Kind of follow up on what Titus was saying. Something even better you can do. Somebody's bugging you the hell out. Don't even announce to them that you're gonna block them. Just quietly block them, and you'll never have to deal with seeing their interactions again. There is a powerful thing called the block button. Use it. That way you don't have to get yourself into hot water like this.
JBL is great at using the block button, too. JBL does it usually every single day. Somebody comes up with some smart ass, and he'll be like, hey, you get blocked. Boom. And they're gone. But you're right. You don't even have to go to that direction. You can just block them and be done with it. And, yeah, I've used the block button. You know, and again, who am I? But you're right about John Cena, and maybe someday I will, I'll give you the John Cena story between me and John Cena, and I'll tell you the kind of person he really is. But we have to talk about Raw, I'm sure.
Ooh, that's right.
We'll talk.
Okay. We'll talk
sir.
On that note. Let's talk about Raw, man. Let's talk about Raw. What really stood out in my mind the most, I'm just looking at the card right now. First off, Heath Slater getting a victory over Seth Rollins. I know a lot of people are going to be looking at that, and they're probably going to be saying, Heath Slater, he's getting the push. He's getting the push. No. Watch on Main Event or SmackDown. Rollins is going to just destroy the hell out of that poor guy. But it was nice seeing him get a rare W.
Well, the push is for Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose tonight did something that I have waited for 8 years of the Money in the Bank or whatever it's been. He and again with this whole beat the clock, and if we're going to recap, the two of them each had a match. The one who had the lowest time into beating their opponent gets to win a stipulation for the match at SummerSlam.
Right.
One of the things I've always said is, well, if I got to beat the clock, and the guy here has a chance to beat me, what can I do? Because I'm a heel, so I want to do whatever I can to cheat anyways. What can I do to make him have a mistake? And that is what you saw tonight. You saw Dean Ambrose do two things that have really never been done before. One, during the beat the clock, he's distracting Seth Rollins. And how's he distracting him? He opens the Money in the Bank briefcase and tears the contract up. What a beautiful thought. Well, we've been saying that for years. Somebody should take that thing and tear it up. And he poured soda and popcorn and JBL's hat and got Seth Rollins distracted to the point where he gets rolled up for a pin by Heath Slater. But, yeah, Heath Slater will get a little rub tonight, but he will be obliterated in the time to come.
And
not
how
a push.
About that? Not a push, definitely not a push. How about that tweet that Dolph Ziggler had put out right before the weekend? He said something along the lines of, WWE Universe, they're listening to you. Trust me, they hear you loud and clear. And then you follow that up with him scoring another victory. So he's like 2-0 right now in the past 2 weeks as he picked up a victory over Cesaro. Are we a little bit surprised on the decline, if you will, of Cesaro?
Of Cesaro or Dolph Ziggler?
The decline of Cesaro.
But he last week we're talking about him getting a really strong showing against John Cena. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre situation with Cesaro because he gets jobbed out to Dolph Ziggler, but he loses to an AA at the top of the rope to John Cena the week before. They have nothing for me So where am I going to put me today? That's the problem with the booking when you get to these situations is they don't have anything for you. There's no storyline. There's no creative. It goes back to Colt Cabana with his old creative has nothing for you videos on. I love those things.
Love those.
and that's really what it is. And you sit back and you're like, what am I going to do today? Today, let's see, you're going to ride a fake pony. Yeah. It's got nothing for him, so they just kind of make it up on the fly, and in turn he gets where he's at. Next week he'll be strong against somebody else. The thing that I'm waiting for on Dolph Ziggler is does he beat The Miz at SummerSlam, and how many weeks go by before he gets a concussion and is out for 6 weeks? Because that's his MO.
Yeah, I must admit that's lingering in the back of my mind as well. You know, I want to see Dolph Ziggler, you know, get back up there, but at the same time, it's kind of like, ooh.
Hey, I'm not the biggest Ziggler fan, and there was a time a few years ago that Ziggler and I went back and forth on Twitter, he plays his heel character very well. I think some of it is not much playing. However, the guy's got tons of talent, but he can't stay healthy. And we've talked about this over the past. So it's his MO, and I just wait to see it happen. And I'm not hoping it does. I'm just being a realist here.
Jericho had won the right via disqualification to take on Bray Wyatt one-on-one without needing to be concerned with interference from Harper and Rowan. Decent match that he had there against Luke Harper. What did you think about that match?
That match, you know, it's hard because this would have been in the nearing the first part of the third hour, and by that time I was $9.99 out. But it was a decent. It was a good match. I mean, the great thing about Jericho is that he does put on an entertaining match. The whole Wyatt family are just great wrestling. I really enjoy them. Again, it goes back to the creative stuff. They're not getting what they need right now either. The question is, does Jericho win again against Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam, or does, with the odds stacked against Bray Wyatt, does he pull out the victory on there? It's going to be interesting how they play it out. They got one more week with next week's Raw to sell me on the match, because right now that match I'm not sold on.
It does seem kind of
flat.
Yeah. I'm picking up the same.
I go to Rusev and Swagger. There's more build up for this.
Yeah.
It's a simple USA Russia. It's simple. It's a simple playbook that they played in the 70s and 80s, and then they recashed it with Muhammad Hassan, and it's a simple playbook, but it's being run very, very well, and I'm excited about that match. And I don't think these two guys are going to put on a very amazing match, but I'm intrigued by the story, and that's the difference between that match and the Jericho-Bray match is I don't see a backstory here. Jericho returns, the Wyatts show up, there's a fight. What's the motivation? What's the story here? Where the Rusev Swagger, you've got a story. You've got something that's built into, it's built up.
Right.
It was a good match. It did not have me intrigued on anything for a long time. I just had I've got ADHD and D&D and all those different diseases that you can think of for distractions.
Yeah, $9.99 distraction.
Yeah.
Honestly. Speaking of Fozzy, I see Fozzy's actually going to be coming up here to the Baltimore, Maryland area around October. And looks like they got a really cool VIP meet and greet with the whole band. So I'm definitely going to be talking to Chris Jericho Titus, and I'm going to try to see if I can do a little Restore the Manager tour. Okay, that should be awesome.
By the time he makes it up there, he will be no longer WWE superstar. He's going to be rock star.
Yeah,
because he had a Reddit Q&A over the weekend, I think it was, where he said that this current run would end in September, and Nashville will be his last event for WWE in this run.
Well, that sucks. I'm still gonna plug Restore the Manager. Uh, remind folks who won that Beat the Clock challenge again.
That would be Dean Ambrose wins the Beat the Clock by distracting Seth Rollins. He will announce on SmackDown what the stipulation will be for their match at SummerSlam. Got to assume it's going to be winner takes the Money in the Bank contract. Otherwise, there's no other stipulation I think would be what I would want against the Money in the Bank holder, right? I mean, that seems the easiest stipulation to have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But I'm not on the creative, and creative does things that we don't know.
Yeah. Before we talk about Brie and Stephanie, if you guys are enjoying our show so far, please that good stuff. And make sure you check us out on the downloads, everything. Because I get asked, Titus, how can I spread the good word? You can do one of those things we just mentioned, or you could submit a review for us on Stitcher or on iTunes. Check out the links below. Make sure you show Titus some love and follow him on Twitter at Evil Genius Titus. All right, Titus. I kind of like the supporting cast that was built around the final segment between Brie and Stephanie McMahon. And man, Stephanie, not one but two pedigrees, man. She really, them things look vicious. It looked more cleaner, more well executed than when she used to do it years prior, and trying to impress her baby. And I love the hot, passionate kiss that she gave Triple H afterwards, man. Talk about that segment, right? But at the same time, let's also rewind a little bit, because apparently Brie and Stephanie's segment last week, I was looking at the numbers there, looks like hour one, it was what, Titus, like maybe 5-point-something million viewers or something like that. Hour two, they had got like about 4.200-something. The final hour in particular, Brie and Stephanie's segment was basically the lowest segment of that respective week. Now, nobody's blaming Brie, but nobody wants to dare blame Stephanie because it's a McMahon. You just can't do that. But notice how this week it's kind of like, okay, well, rather than have just Brie and Stephanie, let's dress them up with a contract signing. Let's have Michael Cole be in there because he's the journalist. And
who said that. Not a word in the entire thing. Not a word. He was just stand up.
Right, and then you got Triple H in there. Okay, so you're keeping in mind that Stephanie is wearing something that she usually doesn't typically wear, which is cowboy boots and shorts. So
leather hot pants.
Right, hot pants. So you got to be saying to yourself, okay, something physical is going to happen. What exactly? Must admit, I was very impressed physically with what Stephanie was able to do. Not so much so on Brie's acting. I actually wanted her to stop talking while she was ahead. Well,
as Raw went off the air, you start seeing your timeline on Twitter just fill up with bashing on Brie. She's not good, and why somebody has decided to give her the microphone 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row. She's bad, and I really, a lot of respect for Steph doing two very clean pedigrees without any knee pads. By the way, she went straight down on the mat, and that's not a trampoline, boys and girls. That's wood and metal underneath there. Shout out to Eric Angel, my buddy out in Colorado, who said, "Am I the only one who was hoping that Stephanie would pull a quad?" No, that would have been horribly funny to watch. Did a good job at that, and there's I think Brie's a better wrestler than she's a talker. That's for sure. So hopefully they can kind of clean this up a little bit, and I'm assuming that's going to be the co-main event behind Cena Lesnar. I'm assuming that's usually where they put in the women's matches these days, right there before the main event. But a lot of a lot of it was a discombobulated segment in many ways. Michael Cole shouldn't have been there. He was there for as a witness, but did nothing witnessing. He didn't endorse anything. He had no purpose there. Triple H abused a woman by pushing a desk over her into a corner. That's going to look good. You know, in the same week that Randy Orton calls a woman Miss Piggy, Triple H physically abuses a woman on Raw by pushing a desk in front of her and slamming her into a corner. So you got to, you know, it's nice being the boss's husband, I guess. So it's a tough segment. It pushes the storyline along. I was interested in one thing. She never mentioned her husband's name. I'm getting revenge for Nikki. I'm getting revenge for the Rhodes. And, of course, the crowd jumped in. And it was a perfect time to jump in and say, CM Punk.
Yeah.
But she never mentioned, I'm getting even for my husband, Daniel Bryan. Never mentioned him. That was intriguing in my mind.
Yeah, you know, my whole thing was it's 11 o'clock by the time they get to this segment. Why not let Brie be really strong-like and let her fly with the F-bombs, let her fly with the S, let her fly with the B word? You can bleep it out. It's okay. Hell, they had to sit through, what was that, Titus video between Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and we got Brock Lesnar just swearing like I don't know what, you know, and they bleeped him out. I don't know how. It was at least almost 10 times they kind of bleeped him there. It's like, why not let Brie kind of jump out there, come off really raunchy and all that? Because those couple of times that I heard her say the B word, you know, that kind of really revved me up a little bit. It was kind of like, oh, all right, this is a little bit familiar territory, but we're kind of going in that adult-oriented direction. Okay, I like that.
See, I would have gone a different direction. I would have gone a different direction, Lee, because for two reasons. One, her coming off that way comes off very heel-like, and that's really the role Stephanie would be in the heel position. But mic work is not Brie's strength. I think with Brie in this segment, less would have been a whole lot more. Just her coming out and saying, I don't have a lot to say to you. In 2 weeks of SummerSlam, I'm going to say everything I need to say in the ring. I'm going to get even for all the things that you've done. Sign, boom. Because she just kind of went on and on and on, and she ends every little paragraph by raising her voice, and it's very singular noted, and she doesn't have much depth to her promo ability, and that's something that, you know, either you have it or you don't. And for me, in this segment, less would have been more because she's just not very good at it.
You again, and for the second week in a row, needed to, at least for Brie's side, is the Daniel Bryan needed just to kind of really sweeten this matchup even more, to have him just basically be in her corner now that we saw Triple H, to a certain extent, get physical with his wife. Does this prompt Daniel Bryan to return? Should Daniel Bryan be involved in this if you're writing it?
It can be, but I don't think he's physically cleared to be in the ring. So if he's not physically cleared to have any involvement, which is what you would need, then no, keep him out. That way, maybe you can have some little bits of involvement with Triple H and Brie, so when he does come back, he's got all this built up over ever how many months that he'll be gone, and then it'll make a much bigger impact. Because I don't think he can get involved in anything right now, so what would be the point of having him out there other than a cheerleader? I think Nikki can fill that cheerleader role a little bit. If he was cleared to work and he could, you know, do a running knee and hit Triple H in the face, you know, during a moment in the, you know, in a segment, that'd be different. But I don't see any purpose for him just to stand out there, and that's all he would be doing. Because again, Daniel's not a great promo guy either. He's good, he's not great. So he's not going to offer any great mic skills. It's not CM Punk here going to drop a pipe bomb. He can't touch anybody because he's not cleared to work, so he doesn't offer a whole lot to the segment other than there's Bree's husband who's standing by her side. Plus, they sell him. They're selling him as being hurt, and he's recovering, and it sells that a little bit more as well.
And once again, we have to ask the question, because I brought it up last week, and I think maybe the week before that, but once again, we got to bring up the question, why isn't John Cena involved in this to a certain extent? Because from what we see on Total Divas, and Titus, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, they're like buddies, they chat and all that, and it's kind of like
they're going to end up being brother-in-laws, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what the hell, A little baffled that Cena has not gotten involved with this.
I have to wonder if there isn't a storyline involved here at some point. Nikki asked me to stay away. She could handle her own business. She didn't need me to get involved, but this has gone too far. Now I am involved. That could be what it is. I don't know. It's just odd how you have one part of Total Divas and the other part is, well, let's pretend John Cena's not dating Nikki. I don't get it. But there might be a purpose there. Might be a purpose there.
We were talking about this off air, but to sum it up, you and me are both in agreement. Next week's Raw, that's where we really need to be. And as I said earlier, I wish it was the Hulk Hogan celebration on this episode, because going through this episode tonight with the hashtag 999, unbearable. I've seen my fair share of really bad Raw episodes, but for me, what sums this night up is there was decent wrestling, but unfortunately it was overshadowed by shameless plugs.
And shameless plugs, but also it was a little slow. And, as we said I talked off air, we've had 6 weeks of pretty good Raws, some good pay-per-views in the mix there. You're due for a bad show. Plus, this show was full of a lot of the storyline push. That last bit of the puzzle to make. I go back to Swagger and Rusev, the in the ring, face to face, each with their flag, managers going back and forth. That's that final piece of the puzzle that pushes us 2 weeks from now or this coming week. Excuse me, not 2 weeks. This pushes that next level to that. So it was that filler piece that needed to go in. It's necessary for the story, but it does get a little tough to watch on TV. But you're right, there were some really good matches. I mean, the first match of the night was Kane versus Roman Reigns in a last man standing match. Pretty good match. I mean, I was pretty excited for the start when you have a really good last man standing match to start the show. That's a huge start, but that was probably the best match of the night in my opinion.
WWE, breaking news right here. WWE is advertising special guests and surprises for Hulk Hogan's birthday celebration next week. It's being speculated, so take this with a grain of salt, that Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, looks like they had tweeted the following and maybe retweeted one another. Somebody say something about an NWO reunion, hashtag Raw. So that sounds like it's going to be a very solid episode. Me had revealed on Twitter not too long ago, as we were doing this here, Titus, he had to get 6 staples to close a cut he received from the Steel Steps from Kane. And man, them staples are huge as hell. Looks very ugly right here, man.
He's had a rough couple of weeks, man. He had split his eyebrow. He got beat with the kendo stick. And he is going to earn that main event spot when it finally opens up for him.
Yeah. Let's get cool. You guys are chatting up about here. Tom, Heath Slater just won Raw's main event. Let that sink in for a few minutes, folks. Spencer, hey guys, not sure if you heard, but you can get the WWE Network for $9.99 per month.
$9.99 a
I
month?
love
No
that.
kidding. I'm gonna go sign up.
Wow, I've learned something new. Hellbound, last man standing match was actually very weak. Kane chokeslam Reigns through a table, and Reigns just spears him like any other match, and it's over. It didn't seem believable to me. What really didn't seem believable to me, Hellbound, was actually the crappy little segment where Kane, because he got his ass handed to him, he takes off his mask, and it's kind of like, Mommy, I don't want to play anymore, you know. Um,
But let's not forget that that spear was followed up to a Superman punch prior to that. So it wasn't just a spear.
all right.
But the thing that I want to point out in that match is after the Superman punch, referee Mike Chioda never made a count while Kane was on the mat. And even the commentator talking about why the referee counting? Why the referee counting? Michael Cole was almost leaning towards, a conspiracy by the authority. Mike Chioda kind of forgot he was supposed to count at that point. Kane's on the ground and he's not counting. It was kind of a screw up by Mike Chioda.
Yeah. Hopefully they clean that up next week if they care. Then again, we've seen WWE just be like, F it, next show. So we'll see what happens. David, amazing how Stephanie sounded like Vince tonight. I can't see Brie winning this match. I said it last week, Titus. It's really looking as though Stephanie, just based off what we saw of that pedigree, I might be reading too much into it, man. But I think people are going to be very shocked when these two girls go at it, because we've heard about it storyline-wise tonight. Brie is saying to Stephanie, I'm going to embarrass you for all it's worth. I'm going to make you suffer. We see her talking this good, hot game, but Stephanie being so confident, it's kind of like, okay, well, what does she have up her sleeve? Is she really going to be able to get down and dirty one-on-one with this girl? Or is this match maybe going to be booked in a way where we're going to see Stephanie McMahon get some help from the other divas to try to do a beatdown on Brie? I would hope it doesn't go in that direction, because people are paying $9.99 to see Stephanie get her ass whooped.
I was thinking it was going to be some kind of swerve, but after watching her drop two pretty good pedigrees, it looks like old Steph been working in the ring with Hunter, getting herself ready for this match for more than a couple of weeks. So I expect her to actually have a match. Now, doesn't mean a swerve can't still happen, but I'm expecting her to actually have a pretty decent match. The thing about Stephanie, I agree, she is in full Mr. Vince McMahon mode here. I'm looking at her, and I saw Vince at one point. She is drawing serious heat right now. Opening a segment of the show, she grabs the mic, and you had 17,000 people booing the hell out of her. She's got serious heat on her in a way that most of these, guys trying to get that heat can't figure out. She's hot right now, and I'm not talking like body hot. She's hot, but she's in her spot right now. I think she's as good as she has ever been.
Yeah. Double Jeopardy, with regards to your question on the stream being laggy, ultimately, and this is the first comment that I'm actually seeing with regards to this. I've never seen anybody comment on this before. So Titus, I don't know if you might want to. Double Jeopardy, it may have to do with your respected internet connection. I know we got a fresh install of Verizon Fios over here. I can definitely tell you that when we have a lot of people that's viewing us, which is at right now about 54, I keep seeing the highest peak at like about maybe, on that same bandwidth. Maybe that might be an issue. It could also be an issue with your internet connection. As far as I know, everybody else is fine, so it could be just you. Titus, do you notice any lagging when you play the episodes back?
Not my episodes back, but a little laggy tonight.
It is a little laggy just tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
That's weird. All right. Well, push comes to shove, we'll definitely have some audio excerpts be available. So stop wondering about that and instead actually talk about what you had thought of Raw. A little bit curious. Lee, Dobby. Hey, Lee and Titus thought Raw was average tonight. Love to see Punk chant during the final segment. Keep up the good work. At least someone's consistent on a Monday night, and it ain't Raw. Laugh out loud. I like that. Steven, hey, Lee and Titus, tonight's Raw seemed a little boring to me, except for some segments like Stephanie and Bree's contract signing, Bray Wyatt attacking Jericho. Crazy how people hated Lesnar for ending the streak, and now, since his return, everybody wants him to be champion. I'm going to let you have fun with this one. Honestly, I don't want him to be champion.
I'm in his wheelhouse. I am 125% right there. You have all these people bitching, moaning, and groaning. He takes the Undertaker streak. He's a part-time worker. That's why CM Punk quit. Oh, kill Cena. I want him to be the champion. What the hell do you want from the... That's the problem. That's why the WWE product is so... Because they try to listen to what you want. You want Daniel Bryan, but now you don't want Daniel Bryan. But now I do want Daniel Bryan. I want CM Punk. You got to find somebody, and you got to latch on to him. The whole world latched on to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they rode him as far as they could ride with him, and they didn't hop off on the Stone Cold wagon. So find that person. Let's jump on the bandwagon, and let's just ride them to the freaking promised land. But this back and forth stuff's driving me nuts. You're 100% right. Just 5 months ago, people were bitching, moaning, and groaning that this part-time guy takes away the Undertaker's streak. Now they want him to be the champion, and he'll be still a part-time guy. His contract's part-time. He's not going to win the title from Cena and be on Raw every single week. Not going to happen. All right, I'm done.
The whole Lesnar deal, I've said my piece on it. That was all Titus. I'm just going to be like what Titus said. Moving right along. Anthony, should Dean Ambrose change his finishing move? In my opinion, it's a weak move, and it doesn't really get a reaction from the crowd, like the stunner or even Seth Rollins' curb stomp. In fact, Seth Rollins' finishing move fits Ambrose's character / personality better. That is a very good point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I like the move. It isn't anything spectacular. I'm a big fan of those moves. The stunner is a great example. One of those moves that you can hit at any moment. Tonight, Jericho hit the code breaker, boom, 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 twice on the Wyatts. I like those moves that are just out of nowhere. You can hit it. I think Dean would be great if he had something like that. And I can't tell you what it should be, but yeah, I'm not totally in love with it. It doesn't bring a reaction. It doesn't have that moment. But that's he's still growing the character. He's still moving up, and maybe we can go along with it.
I wouldn't mind seeing Dean Ambrose do a nice modified yet wicked version of a swinging DDT.
Yeah.
No reason to be a high flyer. Keep it short, keep it simple. Swinging DDT. Bring that back. Somebody had an interesting question for us, Titus, and I want to pitch it to you first, because I think you and me are both going to probably say the same person. And I can't think of their name right now, but basically they wanted to know what diva, if we could pick for Paul Heyman, what diva do we think Paul Heyman would be a great manager for?
On the current roster, or somebody we could bring in?
That's what I'm saying, because if we're talking about somebody you could bring in, I'm looking at Charlotte or Sasha Banks.
I could go even deeper in the indie scene, but we won't go too deep. let's talk roster for right this moment. Um, you know, wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, if you're looking at the current roster, I personally would like to see him manage Paige.
Yeah, I mean that seems the easy choice. You could make an argument that you could bust the Bellas up, and one I think Nikki with Heyman would be interesting.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I can see that.
Sasha Banks in NXT would be or Charlotte, but Sasha Banks for some reason just strikes me as a Heyman girl. Um, that's where I would want to use Heyman and use him to help elevate that course. Excuse me, Paige is on the uptick already. They found her a better character. Again tonight, I that little promo with her that they showed up there was good. It really, I like where they're taking her. I would put someone like Sasha Banks with Paul Heyman because she could use that rub that he can bring to move her up into to the upper echelon of the roster.
How about Heyman and Cameron? Talk about a girl that needs some schooling.
I have the perfect suggestion for Cameron. Future endeavors.
Oh, damn. Titus. That's cold, man. I'm trying to help sister out. You want her future endeavor.
I want to help her out too. She's wasting her time in the WWE. She wants to be a pop star. Let's just make her life a little easier and not put her on the road anymore.
Speaking of which, I got to get your thoughts on this before we wrap it up, man. I was going to talk about the NXT releases, but names I really don't even recognize like that. I would actually have to do some homework on them. But one name that stood out to me, Ricardo Rodriguez. In case you guys missed it, Ricardo had parted ways with the WWE. He put out a tweet basically saying, WWE, thank you for 4 great years, but I miss wrestling. So you guys feed into that, make up your own conclusion with regards to that. There was a little bit of a knock Titus that Alberto Del Rio had took at Ricardo Rodriguez. Yeah. What's your thoughts about Ricardo?
Ricardo, I never had the opportunity to meet him. He was actually in my old territory I used to work at in California, Vendetta Pro Wrestling. He actually was the very first ever Vendetta Pro heavyweight champion back on the indie scene. And a lot of the guys I know from Vendetta talk very highly of him and his ability. So him asking for his release to want to go wrestle, I think he can do okay in the indie scene, get back into the to the wrestling side of things. He's a pretty good wrestler. The shot fired by Alberto, the question you have is, was it a in character or was it not? And I tend to think it was not. I think it was a parting shot from Alberto. Alberto's on his way out. I don't think he's trying to make friends with anybody. It was tacky. You don't need to say those kind of things. But I come from a different school. There was no purpose in it. It was tacky. It wasn't necessary.
I agree with you 100%. I don't have anything else to add to that. Honestly, it sucks that they couldn't do more with Ricardo because he showed the ability. I was always impressed whenever I got a chance to see him wrestle, whether it be under various masks or whatever. I was always quite pleased with his work, and it's sad that WWE didn't try to give him more opportunities to wrestle.
I think it falls to the demographic change. There was a point where Ray was hot, Alberto was hot. They had Sin Cara. They had Hunico. A lot of Hispanic superstars, and Rodriguez played into that. But all of a sudden, again, Ray has disappeared again. Alberto is ice cold and is on his way out the door. Hunico was released. Sin Cara was buried on the card tonight against Rusev, in the match was only on the WWE app, didn't even make Monday Night Raw, so it was a middle of the show dark match. The Hispanic demographic, if they're looking at WWE's demographics, they must see something where they're not seeing the same interest in the product from a Hispanic standpoint. So maybe some of those Hispanic stars are not fitting into their forward plan. I just think it's interesting that you look at it, and if after ADR is gone, really that leaves Sin Cara.
Oh, the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. A little REM for you guys.
We didn't mention the big surprise that the Booner Sooner music played tonight, right there in the middle of Texas. We have, just for a moment, I had to think JR was at Monday Night Raw, and then of course it dawned on me that Damien Sandow was going to walk out as a Boomer Sooner, again doing absolutely nothing. Situation, jobbing to Mark Henry, who returned tonight. Got to make sure we talk about Mark Henry returning. Again, I don't know what's going on with Sandow, but he is, again, cheap heat and a waste of time.
Let me pick your brain on something real quick. When I was looking at that segment with Damien Sandow, I thought Jim Ross automatically, and then I said to myself, kind of seems like on the slide WWE is taking a knock at good old JR because they know how much he loves his Sooners and all that. And then later on, when we saw Dean Ambrose do the thing with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then he took the cowboy hat, very rare that I see JBL wear that hat. Past several events I've gone to, the man always just has it in his hand, and he's doing his little dancing. He goes to the announce booth, he puts it on the table, and that's pretty much it. You think combining what we saw of Sandow later on in the night with Ambrose messing with that hat, pouring it into the popcorn, or mixing it in the popcorn and the soda and all that, you think that was some jabs at Jim Ross?
I gotta be honest, that really never crossed my mind. I think it played the segment with Sandow makes sense because they're in Texas, they're in Longhorn territory. It's a big rivalry between them and Oklahoma, so it was an easy cheap heat for Damien Sandow to get. Had the roles been reversed, he had to come out in a Texas jersey in Oklahoma. I don't think there was any sort of dig at JR. I think that they have kind of moved on past that. He's officially, no longer under contract. He announced a couple of weeks ago. No, I didn't think that, but it could have been. It wouldn't be the first time.
Speaking of Jim Ross, it's rare that I plug other people's podcasts. Very rare. But he had a slam dunk interview with the icon Sting. If you guys haven't checked it out, do so. A really great listen. I think Jim Ross is releasing part 2 of his interview with Sting this week. But part 1 itself, my God, I think that was like about over an hour that he was talking with Sting. I can only imagine where they are with part 2. But great listen. Check that out when you guys get a chance. You'll thank me later, you Sting fans out there. And Titus, I think that's it, man. We went a little bit all over the place tonight. Kept it all WWE related. Send us home, buddy.
Well, before you send home, I want to put one more plug on Raw because it was a 5 out of 10 Raw. But I think the reason it was 5 over 4 was because of the really, really good Cena Lesnar promo video.
That was a good video.
That video was incredible. We talked just a second on it about Lesnar swearing and all that, but what I loved about the video was Brock Lesnar was telling you, I want the WWE Championship, and this is why I'm going to do it. And then you had Cena expressing the same. You've got two men who both want something. They're telling me they want it. They're going to do it. They're going to give everything they can. It was a great video. And again, to prove that I am a genius, I said 3 weeks ago, these two guys will not touch
Yes, you did.
before SummerSlam.
Yep.
And once again, neither man on Raw tonight. And so, again, they've not touched. So I think it saves it. It saves it to be more meaningful. They were smart tonight. They're playing that Extreme Rules from 2 years ago on the network right after Raw. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that they need to do more of to get that $9.99 out of the people's pockets. Play to your sense of emotion and your topical nature. That makes more sense than the stupid little $9.99 promos that they were throwing all night long. But it was a great promo video they threw out there. That's the kind of stuff that we want to see as fans. That's a lot of boom on that on Twitter that I saw. So that's the kind of stuff we want to see from these guys, and hopefully we can see more of that as we go along. At this point, I think we are looking at SummerSlam being how many days away now? This coming Sunday, right?
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday. Okay, so we've got one more Raw prior to, and of course that's going to be Hulk Hogan's birthday, and anything as possible. This is the go home episode of Monday Night Raw prior to SummerSlam. So it should be it has to be a good Raw. First and foremost, you got Hulk Hogan, his birthday celebration. The little Hulkster in me, gotta get excited about that. But it's the go-home episode. This leads us right into SummerSlam, so any and everything that can possibly be put out there to get you to spend your $9.99 to have the network for SummerSlam, they gotta throw it all out there next week. So I'm hoping that we get ourselves like an 8.5. Gosh, it'd be nice to have a 9 Raw. I think it should be good.
I have a bold prediction to make. Okay?
All right.
If they really, 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 really want to send the fans home happy and they want that $9.99, all right? I got a bold prediction, and I'd be a little bit shocked if this doesn't happen. They keep hyping up this whole... We've seen elements sprinkled off and on since Hulk Hogan has been back, and he's been hyping up in the interviews. John Cena's a good kid. I wouldn't mind working with him. He wants to work one more match. All right, you know what? During the whole 3-hour episode of Raw next week, keep showing little Hulkamania highlights. Show when he made his WWF debut or whatever. Show all those nice little things. Do a nice build-up. Lead up to your final segment. You got Hulk Hogan. He's basically going to close out the show. It gets interrupted by Brock Lesnar. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Long story short, Brock Lesnar has Hulk Hogan over his shoulders. He's about to F5 the hell out of that man. John Cena comes in for the save. Brock Lesnar backs on out. And he's laughing at him. Basically, it's a mind game. And he's just saying to him, I'll see you Sunday. I think that'd be a great way to end things.
That's a very interesting point. I think if that happens, that tells you a lot about the truth or lack of truth to the early reports of the last couple of months that Hogan's not cleared to be physical, although we haven't seen him be any physical really at all. If that were to happen, that tells you that he is cleared for in-ring action, and that dream match might actually happen.
Yeah.
It might be interesting to see what happens there. I think that playing against that makes a lot of sense. Him ruining, Hogan's birthday party, Cena coming out for the save.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be good. I mean, Hogan's loved. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, there's a lot of bashing of Hogan and whatnot on TNA. But Hogan is loved in WWE, and that would be a little bit of more heat on Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Not to mention, if you do it right, and see, this is where you got to get egos in check, because if Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are going to be showing up, we know Scott Hall, he really can, and I'm glad we're still on. I want to pick your brain something about Scott Hall. It almost, yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot about that. All right, so, we know Scott Hall, he can't really take bumps and all that, so he's excused, okay? Kevin Nash, would Kevin Nash do it? That's the real question. Unless you're going to give him X amount of dollars, I don't see Kevin Nash selling Brock Lesnar. So my whole idea is maybe you could have Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, if these guys are going to show up, get the NWO reunion out of the way like early. You know what I'm saying? And then that way you can have Hulk Hogan just pretty much come back at the end of the night and basically go WWE Universe. You know, I just want to tell you guys real quickly, thank you guys so much for helping me celebrate my birthday. To everybody that surprised me with an appearance, I love you guys. Thank you all so much. Blah, 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 right? And then you do what I had said earlier, right? Now, if WWE wants to continue to have eyes on the product, here's another brainstorm. Pull a card from what they did with the Bret Hart celebration that was exclusive on the WWE app. Be like, hey, hop on the WWE network right after Raw goes off the air because we're going to have a special happy birthday celebration for the Hulkster. It's only going to be seen on the WWE network. And the reason why you build it up like that, Titus, is because you're going to finally get to see Vince McMahon. You're going to see people that you haven't seen in a good minute that's going to be popping up to wish Hulk Hogan a happy birthday. Maybe The Undertaker? Who knows? But I think, you really want to push that $9.99. I think you make all those moves, and that's how you do it, man.
Yeah, Kevin Nash, he's talked about how beat up he is, so I would be infinitely surprised that he does any bumps whatsoever. He's it's not where he is anymore in his career. So, it would have to be clearly that it would have to be the end of the show. I thought you were going to go with the report of Scott Hall and his conduct.
Yeah, set it up for him.
Well, it's a personal issue. I mean, I've been a big fan of Scott Hall. I've been a big fan of his comeback and his recoup, and he's need people to donate money, and a lot of people donated money to Scott's effort to get surgery to get himself going. Reports were that a kid with cancer. A lot of the wrestlers at this event were signing this card for him, and Scott refused to sign the card. And I've seen some reports today confirming that. Until you're there and you see it, you don't know. But if that is really the true thing, if that's what happened, then Scott Hall's a dirtbag. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that's not what happened. But to get out there and ask people to donate money to help pay for my surgery, and he can't sign a card for a little kid with cancer, that is the definition of dirtbag, in my opinion. So
has Scott Hall said anything to his defense about this on social media?
I haven't seen anything. So I don't know. I hope it's wrong. I hope there was, it was BS information. It was some fan who wanted to, I don't know. I just hope it wasn't, because that would be horrible, because a lot of people came to his defense. A lot of people came to his assistance to help him out when he was in need, and for him to turn his back upon a little kid, boy, that'd be sad.
It definitely hits close to home for me, because I was actually one of the many people that donated to Scott Hall, and he had these nice little cool perks that was set up as a result of donating. For me, it really wasn't about the perks, and I know a lot of people, when it comes to these wrestlers, they say, oh, I need help with this, I need help with that, and, well, this is what you get if you donate X amount. I don't really think it should be about the perks. It should just be about Don't get so caught up on that. It should be about, hey, this person needs help. I'm in a position where I can donate a little something, and in the long haul, people like me that's able to donate to this worthy cause, it's going to have a really big payoff that we're all going to be happy about. So that's why you donate. You don't donate because, oh, I want this
I
from
want a phone call from Scott Hall.
right. That's just tacky, But I went with a Skype interview because I wanted to see for myself how he was doing, ask him how he was doing, and it's an experience that I had shared on the show long time ago. Something I cherish to this very day because it was just a cool, unique experience, and it was like Titus. As soon as we began chatting, he looked at me and he was like, "Hey yo, what's up, Lee?" I said, "Hey man, ain't nothing. I'm doing good. How you doing?" And it was just so nice and just warm how he just opened it up, and he was like, "Are you going to WrestleMania? It's gonna be in New York, man. You gotta go." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it," and I didn't end up going, but he was so nice. And he was telling me, he's like, "Look, man, the money that you and everybody else sent me, trust me, man, you can see for yourself. It's going in the right places. Look at me, I'm healthy. It's thanks to you. Thank you so much." And I picked up a very sincere Scott Hall. So for me, Titus, to hear this report, it sounds very conflicting, and I'm actually on his Twitter page right now. So far, I don't see anything as far as him acknowledging, what had went down with this kid. I'm going to continue to watch his Twitter feed, though. Maybe it's in there. It just hasn't been retweeted enough. But if, in fact, this is true, and I can't stress this enough, I don't want for our listeners, Titus, to take what we're saying and use it as an opportunity to go bash Scott Hall on social media until he says it point blank what happened. For all we know, maybe he said he was going to sign it and something came up. He forgot. It happens. It sucks that it involves a sick kid, but it happens. People forget, okay? But Titus, I'm telling you, man, if it turns out there's any truth to this, remind the folks how much money was raised for this man.
It was in upwards of the closing at $100,000. I think it was like $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, something like that.
Something like that. I mean, this man had got a lot of money. If I'm not mistaken, Titus. No, I think the number might have been a little higher than that. I thought it was like maybe close to $200K.
Yeah, I would have to look it up.
I know he made more than Jake Roberts. That much I remember, because I was like, whoa, this guy pulled in more money than because who did DDP grab first? DDP grabbed Jake first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we go. On the Indiegogo, it shows $109,000.
I was a little off there. Okay, yeah.
109.
If it's true, then there's going to be some serious repercussions.
When he walked out the Hall of Fame and he looked like he looked, and a tear, it gets you all excited. Finally, Scott looks like Scott's supposed to be. And let's be real for a minute, all right? Nobody hurt Scott Hall. Scott Hall hurt Scott Hall.
Right.
All right? Scott's the one who did what Scott did. And he asked for some help to bail him out of this and get him back to where he was. People jumped at it. People opted to help him. $109,000 was raised for him. This is a little kid who shouldn't be doing anything but playing with his toys. And if he actually said what some people said, he said no. If people, there were reports that he did not. I'm not signing it. He refused. Then I will never, ever have anything to do with Scott Hall. I'll turn Raw off if Scott Hall's on it. Because that to me is the most despicable thing to do. And again, don't nail me on Twitter. I'm just telling you, I hope it's wrong. But if it is, I'm not going to hold back because I don't do that. I don't hold back. It would be wrong.
I'm hoping that Scott Hall fans, especially those that have a nice exchange of words with him on social media on a regular basis, I hope you guys will play to him this portion because, if anything, just to clear the air, he needs to speak on this. He needs to chime in his thoughts and, he needs to set the record straight even if he doesn't want to do it in the form of social media. I mean, hell, man, he's got access to Diamond Dallas Page. I think they live like just down the street from one another or whatever. Hook up with Diamond. Do something on YouTube where he can just talk for as long as he wants, but do whatever he has to do to set the record straight. Uh, Release a statement to one of the major wrestling websites. Usually most wrestlers do that when they're trying to clear up a discrepancy.
Call Meltzer. Meltzer will do the interview. But yeah, we got to know what's going on here because this isn't Randy Orton calling somebody a d-bag on Twitter. This is much worse. This is not what you want to do when you were talking about restoring your body and restoring your heart. Well, it doesn't look like your heart was restored if that's what had happened. And I don't give a lot. Well, my background, I don't give a lot of leeway to people, especially in Scott's paid demographic of the years that he made a ton of money in WCW. The fact that he had the ability to maintain insurance and take care of himself, and I don't give a lot of leeway there because he made his decisions. He made his bed. I didn't donate to Scott. Scott's got to take responsibility for Scott. That was my opinion. I support him. Prayers and thoughts and good wishes. I just wasn't ready to make an investment in Scott because how many times has WWE paid to put Scott Hall in rehab, and then 3 days later he's out, or 3 days after he's out, he's drunk or high again? That happened a couple of times, if I recall right. So I was leery, and God, I hope it's just wrong. I hope it's all crap. I hope it's a dissatisfied fan who just is out there trying to badmouth somebody, and it comes out that way. But it's not looking very good.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one too. Yeah, because it just does not match up to the Scott Hall that I chatted with online face to face. It just very uncharacteristic. I mean, you combine this Titus with some of the things that we've been hearing recently about Scott Hall at autograph signing. It said that he wasn't really making them feel like that money that they were putting out there for that autograph signing, for that photo op and all of that, kind of made them feel like they weren't getting their money's worth. Because, I mean, let's be for real, it's not about because I'm getting ready to go to the big time wrestling event that's happening at the fairgrounds later. There's a ton of other wrestlers that's going to be there, but those are going to be like the main headliners. And it's not about getting the photo and the autograph. I think for a lot of us, it's just about, hey, I grew up on this person. Now I finally get to meet them. I get to just, for that brief period of time, it's just me and them, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to cherish it. For a long time, it's going to be something I can tell my kids, yada, yada, yada. So to hear the things that was going on with Scott at some of these signings and the type of shape that supposedly he was in at these signings, combined with what we're hearing about this, it doesn't make him look good. And I'll tell you this, and we'll end it on this note, the longer he lets this play out and he doesn't say anything about
the truer it is.
The more guilty. Right, and the more guiltier he's going to look. So he needs to do damage control like ASAP. So Scott Hall, stop with the Scott Hall After Dark with the little, nudie pics and all that, and, put your business face on, put your game face
Call
on.
Lee Sanders.
And
Lee Sanders will do a great interview show right here on the
yes,
RCWR show. Get it all straightened out.
yeah, yes, or anybody. Just go somewhere, goddammit. Just speak your piece, please. He's Titus Machiavelli. That's it, man. We did a good show for you guys. Continue the discussion down below. We'll definitely follow up on what you all have to say. Also, quick note, in about less than 5 weeks, we're going to have the RCWR show episode 375. And with Titus, we're actually going to do something very cool, very unique for you guys. Normally, that's our radio edition, but we're actually going to bring that radio edition over to YouTube. So you guys know we like to go a little bit all over the place on our radio edition, but we're going to do a live web show with Titus on a Monday night, all right? And we're going to give 3 of you guys an opportunity to be able to hang with us for a good majority of the show. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to look at the ones that has been commenting the most, because we can see it from our end on the back channel. And we'll see who's been the most active with us, most loyalists, always chatting it up with us. You guys will get invites first. We'll let you know the day and time. It is going to be on a Monday, probably after Raw. If you can make it, great. If not, then we need to know so we can move to the next set of people. So the way you can find out is we'll actually send you a message. Maybe we'll reply to your comment and let you know, hey, you're one of the few that's selected. Do you want to join us? Blah, blah, blah. Stick to us on Twitter, Titus, Evil Genius Titus, RCWR Show. Check out our Facebook page. We'll have more of the information for you guys as the week progresses. Titus, any final thoughts, buddy?
Well, on my website, TitusMachiavelli.com, current poll is what match are you most excited for in the upcoming SummerSlam? Right now, it's a dead heat 3-way tie between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, Brock, Cena, and Stephanie and Brie. So deadlock 3-way tie. Go to TitusMachiavelli.com. Make your voice heard.
Oh, yes. And make sure you guys also join us next Monday. We're going to be looking at the SummerSlam card. We're going to tackle the big main event matches, bring a special installment of our Call That Match edition. Join Titus and me. All right? So that's going to do it. Those of you we didn't respond to, I got you guys later on, so have no fear. That's going to do it. If you enjoyed this, please, one more time, give it a thumbs up. Check out all the links in the episode description so you can check out more episodes, submit a review, and a rating. All right? And that is going to do it. A good night, a good morning. He's Titus Machiavelli, Lee Sanders here, wishing all y'all to be safe, be kind to one another. Everybody, take care.
Good night.